Again? What,
Well, first the connection.
first the connection again, and like,
Oh, the connection is Janet, Bernard, and I are first cousins. Their father and my mother were brother and sister.
okay,
Okay. In that family, three came to the United States. Ben, Sarah, who's my mother, and Frank, who's the Long Branch.
got it.
More what,
Uncle.
sweetheart?
I don't know the
Here's
village
your bagel, honey.
where my mother was born. It was a small town, but she lived most of her life in a town called Kishen Evan. As I remember, it's Kishenev, or
More cream cheese
Inev.
on here?
And she lived
More cream cheese, please.
from a very young age with an older sister whose name was Clara.
Okay,
And Clara's husband was Miron, M-I-R-O-N. Clara had two daughters, Ada and Nadia. And my mother lived with them till she left Russia and came to the United States.
well, okay.
She told me of her mother. I do not know anything about her father, really. She talked about her mother, never talked about her father. The sister Clara was her favorite in Europe because she acted as a mother to her. And then, when she arrived in the United States, she lived with one of the brothers. Do you know whether she lived with Ben or whether she lived with Frank?
She lived with Aunt
Or
Rose.
did she live with Aunt Rose?
Aunt Rose
She
and Uncle
lived-
Max.
Oh, she did.
Always a rose.
Okay.
Always a Max, too.
Yeah, yeah. There was a Max, Aunt Rose. There was another sister, Molly. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the two brothers and mother. That is really all I know of the European part. I do not know anything beyond.
When did they immigrate to the United States?
Well, in the early 20s. My mother came in the early 20s.
Well, my father, he must have come in 1906.
Oh, really?
That's why we can't find his name on the Ellis Island website.
1906. I was born
No.
shortly after they arrived here in this country. My father didn't like it after he came here. It's not that the streets weren't really paved with gold like they had.
Yeah.
That they thought. So he wanted to go back.
When they came here, because Columbus's Golden and Medina,
Yeah.
and then they came here and they saw what it was, and they said, "A clue to Columbus's Medina." A curse on Columbus's Medina.
My father went back, and my mother wouldn't go. And I was
Really?
born, yeah. And then after he got back there, he decided maybe that wasn't the right thing to do, and he came back again.
We went back in 1917, didn't we? Back at the time of the Revolution.
19 what?
When did he go back?
Oh, it must have gone back about, he went back in the early 99, I imagine.
When you were really young.
I didn't know that.
That's what my father had told me some time ago.
I did not know that he had gone back. I know that my mother lived with, that's right, she lived with Aunt Rose, and she would, visit the circuit, visit your father, visit. And then my mother and dad were married in 1924. And they were introduced by a friend, a mutual friend, who came to this country with my mother, who was a physician had married, was named Pauline Tenzel, and her husband was a friend of my dad's, and Pauline arrived in this country with Mother and two young brothers of hers. The brothers settled in Little Rock, Arkansas, and it's very interesting that a grandson, is it a grandson? No, it's a son of one of those brothers is an allergist in St. Louis, a good friend of mine, you know,
Really?
how lives interchange and intertwine.
I understand your father came here on a business trip when he met your mother.
Well, he was.
But they've been
he was
corresponding.
sent-
They've been
Yeah, he was
corresponding.
sent to meet my mother.
Yeah.
He was not just on a business trip because Jack Tenzel has, and Pauline were the,
There's half a
That's
table
what
over
he
there.
wants.
I thought that was the other half of the
Will
table.
we be able to trace Bernard's family that came over a little bit later through the website?
We'll try.
Because we couldn't get Frank.
I've tried on the website, the Ellis
Okay,
Island
yeah,
website,
right.
and I've never found them.
Oh,
What
you
you
have
can
to,
do
okay.
Is,
Uh-huh.
actually, when you are over, over in Russia, in that area, there is, the town halls will keep
Right.
paper records.
And they're gonna give us time to do some of that.
Problem is you have to know how to read Russian.
Well,
There might be, some of them have been translated or something, or,
I tried to check my father. I tried to check my mother,
you do.
and I found nothing, you know. They don't have, I found a couple Garfinkles, but no Sidney.
Well, George has tried Sabinski and so forth, but
Yeah, the difficulty is
Was
that
too early.
it's too early. Most of the major immigrations occurred between about, what, 1920?
Something like that, yeah.
1917, 1820, those were the first major Eastern European integrations occurred in the 19th century, around 1860, 1870, and then there was a
I
hiatus.
assume they came through New York because
Yeah.
in Judy's family, we tried to track them and couldn't find it and found them. They came through Baltimore. And they were on a different list. They were not on the Ellis Island
Well,
website.
That's quite possible because before the big immigration, there were so many quotas going on that Ellis Island often filled up their quota. They had to go through different ports. Because one of Karen's relatives
came in
was
through Boston.
Boston because Ellis was filled up.
And there was also earlier, in the early immigration periods, there was actually a lot of immigration also through,
Judy's school.
like,
I bet that's true.
Charleston and,
A lot of the East Coast, other East
a lot of
Coast.
the southern,
Yes, how are you?
southeastern
We're
ports
expecting your
were,
call.
especially early on, because there was the
It was very
the
sweet
first
of you to
wave
call.
of Eastern European Jewish immigration
I do too.
that
I'm
happened in the
asking
late
for you.
1890s,
All right, I'm gonna
so
give you-
1880s,
I'm gonna give you
1890s,
your- have it, he's right
tended
here.
to come in through the south because that was already established Jewish communities,
Hello.
because the German Jews had already
Hi, how
come
you
in
doing?
and established
Everything is
Charleston
fine.
and
Oh, is it?
different
Well, it's not
areas
as
in the
cold
south.
here. It's windy. I think that wind that we had has come this way. Yes, I'm looking at Shoshana right now. She's eating bagels and cream cheese.
Good.
you're picking.
Yeah, you should have. Yeah, we'll try and get some pictures. Hang on a minute, Elaine's sitting right next to me. I'll let you talk to her a second.
Judy, we miss you.
Well,
I
you know,
said
a
that
lot
to
of these
George. I
records-
said,
a lot of
I
these
think they're
records are
lucky to get
incomplete.
one doctor
The
on the
names were
plane, let
garbled.
alone, I can
Not
understand
all of the
that, but
stuff
it's so seldom that we get, you know,
Even
the
from Ellis
family
Island
together and
had
so
been
forth, and.
translated, or
it
not
was just one of
translated, but
those,
transcribed to the
times that
website. particularly before that, about 1920.
I know that. Well, we came
Thereabouts, and
in
it's,
for Thanksgiving
Well,
to our
we should try
daughters
to, I'll
in,
make an
New
extra
York.
effort to try to get,
Did you get your keys?
Yes, and then
records.
she came to Philadelphia.
Because if you can find out where they're
Came
born,
from California,
then you can go to that place.
Karen
Actually, you will
Came
find it.
from
if you can find
Boston,
it.
so we've been
Well,
all
you may or
together.
you may not. You
And
have
we-
to remember
and
that
we actually had a little night
that
that
cities like Odessa
Six
were,
days between the fall and
on,
many of
yesterday.
these cities were
And
leveled.
so forth. So we,
During
we've
during
accomplished an
the
awful
Second World
lot.
War, a lot of the
And-
records were destroyed.
You know,
But,
Warsaw,
these times are
when the
getting
Russians
round.
were
I even
walking
went to
into Warsaw,
before.
there was
just to
nothing
get
standing
somewhere.
in Warsaw.
Well, not
The-
today.
the-
She left
Warsaw was
from
3 and
Philadelphia
4
to
inches
go
of
back to New
ash.
York yesterday.
The city had essentially been
And
destroyed and
Aaron
burned to the
is
ground. The only
engaged.
building
So-
left standing in the entire old
They-
city of Warsaw was the Jewish
First
synagogue,
son,
and that had
yeah,
been
first
largely
son.
destroyed.
And
So,
and
you know,
so
there was an immense destruction of a lot of
there'll be
these
a wedding, I think,
these,
in August in Washington D.C.
cities. You know, what Stalin ordered during
And
a
so
lot of the
forth.
Russian
Yes, so
retreats
that's
was that
really,
everything be burned in the path
Those
of the
news, and you
advancing.
know that David's
German
other
armies.
son, Michael, is
So-
in the Marines. You know that.
But
we
we'll
did
see. It will be
okay.
interesting. It's
And the other two girls they just graduated
it's a
high
trip where you
school,
meet with members of the
taking,
Jewish community and go to
course in
some of the
medical,
services. We'll wind up seeing the great synagogue in Kiev,
And the other one.
these tend to be
has
very
gone to
educational
college
trips.
And so forth, and she's working part-time,
Yeah.
trying to get her.
which communities
You
were,
know,
when
a
we went
degree
to
at
that
the
guy,
same time.
when we heard the guy
So
speak
that's
who
the
did all
story
the
of David's
genealogies
family.
in particular communities?
And,
Is Kiev one of the
you know,
communities that had good records, or what, it was like Latvia, I think.
right.
I forgot.
Well, I'll let you talk to Jeffrey next, and he'll tell you exactly what he's doing, okay? Hold on.
Well,
Wasn't-
I'm walking over.
Okay.
He's
The
strangled.
court,
Wasn't that
the
what-
court ain't gonna,
I'll strangle somebody.
hello. Good, how are you doing?
I think we could turn off the camera right
Yeah.
It might be on or it might be off. I don't know.
I see a red light on the side.
Yes.
It is recording at the moment.
How do you turn? You,
No, just, there's a button at the back.
That's great.
Right next, on your side.
That's great, yes. Ours, we should have another one coming on in the next month or two.
there's a green button. It says power.
No, not that
A
one.
job with Biogen. You're a biotech firm? So we have
Stop. Thank you. We're back on.
Go ahead.
You got
now.
it?
Do that
Yeah,
again?
go through that again.
Yeah. From the Garfinkle side,
Yeah, well,
the grandfather, my grandfather, my father's father, would be the first of this family Garfinkles, because he, as a young man, to avoid military service in Russia, I think, was legally adopted by a Garfinkle family who had no children, and apparently he didn't have to serve if there was one child, and took their name. And the
So now,
name,
did he have siblings?
right.
did he have
We'll
siblings?
see, right?
I don't
Well, were there
know
others who
of
were
any
with you?
siblings of his.
Because
He-
they would be Schlossbergs.
They would be Schlossbergs, and there are a lot of Schlossbergs around. I mean, there are Schlossbergs in St. Louis, and I know Schlossbergs in other areas. So, you know, we don't know how many of those people would be related to us. Now, he had 15 children,
Oh, your grandfather.
my grandfather. So, my father
Hello. How are you?
was the youngest of this
Well-
family.
Oh, who's not talking anymore?
Split being
How are
the
you?
youngest. He had a
We
twin
do
brother.
miss you over here.
Okay, your
My father
Yes.
father was a twin?
was a twin.
The
twin lived in Moscow, and actually, his son, he had a son and a daughter, and
That is
both of
definitely
them
true.
turned up in Israel 5 years ago.
Well, not on
6
water.
years
What are
ago.
their- what are their names?
Their names are Gorfinkel, Gorfinkel.
Instead of Garfinkel,
Instead of
Gorfinkel.
Uh-huh.
And that was your your
That would be my,
father's,
these would be first cousins.
those were first cousins that showed up in Israel, but it was your
Father's twins, children.
father's twins children.
Lots of good information.
That's just after we turned off the video camera. I said, wait.
Same
Go
company.
So
Been
this
going on
twin
12
is,
years
I have
so-
talked to this twin by
so hopefully when
phone.
the
I
market
called
gets a
him
little better, maybe
several years
other
ago
opportunities to-
and talked to him.
Moving around
He
a little.
spoke only Russian.
You
And
did
we
tell
had
me.
some Russian friends, so we had a three-way conversation of talking to him and talking to the interpreter and then talking back and forth. Oh, we had a nice,
Yeah.
time. But that's as far as we know. I'm not gonna have anything at all, thank you. Do you have coffee made?
Yeah.
I'll have some
Yeah.
coffee then. So, that's as far as we know. I've got, there are a lot of Garfinkle cousins around.
I mean,
Just a
some,
lot of
yes.
Garfinkle.
Well, because he had 10 kids.
Yeah, well, not all of them were
Yeah, he's still there. Do you want to talk
Name
to
either.
George?
Bernard Garfinkle.
Yeah, hold on.
What's that?
Do you want to get out?
Garfinkle's around. It's not an unusual name. Like
Yeah,
Garfield.
there are a lot of
A lot of
Garfinkle,
Schwarzberg, too.
there are a lot of Garfinkle cousins
How
around.
are you? We're going through a genealogy.
All done? We're not having ice cream, honey. There's no ice cream in
But,
It's no wonder if the Russians couldn't keep records. It's, 90 years ago, the United States government can't keep records of people in this country.
That's
So
right.
it's not nothing new.
It would have been nice if Aaron, who's the kind of person who likes to take languages, knew some
Philip
Russian.
has framed my father's citizenship papers,
You want to play?
which were signed and done in
You know what?
Miami,
I think there
Arizona.
is dessert.
She
You
has
want
it
some
framed, and
dessert?
it has Janet's name on it, Jenny, and my name on it, and my mother's name on it. And it's a very interesting document, because it's all handwritten. It's done by some district clerk,
Basically.
and
Oh, that's
she
interesting.
has framed it, and she also included on the framing the envelope in which my father had kept it, in which he had written citizenship papers. And it's a real sample of his English writing then.
Put it right here.
And this was, I think was somewhere around 1911, 1912, that the citizenship was obtained.
Bernard, you finished?
yeah, and thank you, it was delicious, really good.
I'm a great cook.
You
Am I a
are,
great
you
cook?
cooked up that, you really did a good job with that
Pardon
lot.
me.
Yeah.
It was really good. My mother, Judy has a very good friend whose son-in-law, not the son-in-law, the daughter's husband, has been very good with languages. And he has a job with the State Department and has gone up the ladder progressively. And right now, the whole family, which is the son, the daughter, and their 4 children, oh, 3 children, because one of them is came back to go to college here, are in Moscow.
Yes.
They've been in Stockholm, they were in Stockholm, they were in Bonn, they were in Frankfurt, and they were in Moscow, came back to the United States for 2 years, and then went back to
What was his background to get into this?
I don't know, he lived in Washington, he was born and raised in Washington, D.C., and he just apparently was very adept at languages, and took a job, a very menial job in the State Department. He's now, gone up the ladder tremendously. He's really got a nice position. In fact, he's probably in an attaché level.
The reason that I asked that is Aaron, who has fluttered in and out of lots of different things, is now going to go back to school
Bernard says you're feeling
at
well
Boston
after your
University
little
with a
difficulties.
master's in international affairs. And I asked him what he was going to do with that. And he said he's going to go into business. But it seems as if that type of job would fit in, and he also has Spanish, and because he studied Spanish and
You've got to
Hebrew.
talk to Bernard.
So he
Hold
has
on.
those 2 languages that would help, give him different posts.
the other
But I don't know if he has that in his mind.
hearing about how all you are doing and
You know.
so well.
Because she's in social work.
The other Bernard part about the
So,
fact
and the
that
two of them are getting
the
married and then
cousins are
going
to
to
get
school.
distributed all over the world. And it's
Well, that
just
is a good,
difficult
you know,
to
a
get
place to
the
look.
group together and talk about being
Now,
cousins.
I don't know how he got into it. I can find out. So that's easy to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead. You want to wave hi to Daddy? Good kicking. Good kicking. Hit it really hard. All right.
Good job.
Good kicking.
Can you grab the ball, Shoshana?
Shoshana's turn. Or do you want to lift up the snow? I found it difficult to make a snowball. It's too fluffy. Yeah. All right, you know what? We can throw it to Hershey. Yeah. Hershey! Hershey! Go fetch! Is that silly? He goes and chases the snowballs.
Just like this.
Daddy and Shoshana are building a snowman.
Now, let's make his torso over here. Can you help me pat this down? Do you need help walking over here, honey?
It's a snowy day,
There you go. Thank you.
and it's perfect snowman weather.
Can you pat this down for me? Here, pat it. Pat it like this. Here.
It's not easy to walk in the snow.
Okay, now pat it down. Pat it down really hard. That good? Yeah, okay. Then we'll try to get her. Dad needs to on his knees because there's no pants. 1 second, 1 second.
Shoshana's bare leg is